It turns out that Hyundai, tip of the hat to our Canadian listeners, have decided that just like they did with their Genesis brand, if you remember, there was the Hyundai Genesis that was a pretty high end. It was a nice Hyundai, and they spun that off as its own brand to be their luxury arm. Well, they've now taken a name that is already out there and we're familiar with, the Ionic, and they are spinning off the Ionic brand to be their electric arm. And this, of course, cues up the song Isn't It Ionic, which you'll know based on whether or not it plugs in, right? So their goal is they already have slated 3 different vehicles under the Ionic badge. The first one is, they're calling it the Ionic 5, and they're expecting this to come out next year. And they say it's based on the Hyundai 45 concept, which is sort of a retro looking nod to Hyundai being 45 years old. And
so it's not any presidential person. It's not bright orange or.
No, it only comes in Dorito and Cheeto orange. It has a sunroof, but it's fake, and goes off to one side a lot. They make a lot of promises, but it's mostly lies and insults. Anyway, getting back to the article, they are coming out with another one, the Ionic 5, in 2022, and then the Ionic 6. Or the Ionic 5 is the first one, the Ionic 6 in 2022, and then the Ionic 7 in 2024, which they say is going to be an SUV. Personally, I think they need to work on their names if they're simply going to call it the 5, 6, and 7.
Maybe they've laid off their entire marketing department, and that's all they could come up with.
Yes, this is what happens when they all work from home.
Right? They do tend to do that. So yeah. This is probably an executive decision.
That's horrible.
The way to remember them, though, is that the odd numbers are SUVs and the even numbers are cars.
Well, that's clear.
Sort of.
If they
is that the picture?
Yeah, if they stick to it, they rarely.
It's a Cybertruck.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, this is the 45
Cyber crossover, Russell. Come on.
Oh, I'm sorry, cyber crossover. It's a gigafactory.
A little small for a gigafactory.
That is
like it's just come out of the Tron 3, like it's a Tron 3 concept sketch.
Yeah.
So
they like
the
it's
Audi.
going to get. It's going to get smoothed out. It's going to get side view mirrors and door handles. Yeah.
Swinging doors.
No real doors. Yeah, no real car opens like that. But I honestly, I kind of hope that they do stick with this a little. It is a little edgy. Maybe if they smooth it out a little, but I kind of like the look.
The rolling door concept. Like this. I'm sorry, George.
It looks like a Cylon head. I'm sorry.
No, totally.
Yeah, minivan doors on a car. Interesting idea.
It is an interesting idea. I mean, I don't know how well it works or how expensive it is, but the idea that you don't have a door that swings open is
Yeah, I did 2 things about that for me. One is inclement weather. Anytime the door opens and makes a hole that big, I think rain and snow every time I see that. And 2, it's not a question of how much it costs. It's a question of how much it costs to fix.
Yeah.
Good point.
My car loses half of the side when I open certain doors. It does all right. But what that reminded me of actually were the Toyota wheelchair concept vehicles.
That would be
there are certain. Yeah, of course the ADA, and there are certain needs for certain things. But I'm not, these and the gull wing doors and doors that swing open and everything.
Doors that go.
I just always think I've been in too many rainstorms and trying to get in and out and, trying to minimize the opening, and to have something open that much when it's raining just seems like a bad idea to me.
Well, at least mine turned into umbrellas.
There you go.
But so what it reminded me of was the Audi concepts for the e-tron SUV.
Well, I want to step back and just talk about the bigger idea here of they're spinning out an electric brand. And I really like that idea because it separates, it's Ionic or it's Hyundai. And you're going to know just from the badging whether or not it's an electric car. And I hope that gets rid of some of if you go to an Ionic dealership, we've seen this over and over. People go to a car dealership and they try to sell them whatever's on spiff that month. And it's usually not the car that the person came there for. Or the salesperson's like, oh, you don't want one of those. And it's really just because the sales guy doesn't know anything about that. Or just isn't a fan of EVs because he's a car guy and works at a car dealership. So I really hope that this helps with a lot of those dealership issues.
Yeah,
That's a
and then
great point.
You've got Ionic, you've got Polestar, you've got Hummer.
Although
Tesla.
Polestar, I mean, now they're making electric cars, but they
Yeah.
had gas versions before, right?
They did.
For a long time,
They
yeah.
They
It's not
were
like
also
they
plugins
spun it out
too.
new.
Yeah. And then who else did some? But it's like you said, it helps to mental bookmark. All right, that's the electric one.
Yeah, and it also means they're not going to do the thing where like, oh, we're going to release a gas version and a plug-in hybrid version and an electric version, and they've all compromised in some way. If this is dedicated to EVs, I think that will help with their efficiency and range as well.
Yep, and it'll also prevent them from pulling a Mazda. And that was from Mark as well.
Bait and switch.
The
Yeah.
bait and switch. Yeah, this is an electric car with a tiny battery because we're trying to save costs on batteries and customers don't need them and blah, blah. Oh, it's actually a gas car.
Yeah, that was BS, Mazda.
Mhm.
Yeah, they are going to have to figure out what to do with the actual existing Ionic brand, which, if you remember, they do have an electric and a plug-in version.
Yeah, but they're all at least hybrids.
You're right, but the name, what I'm saying is that the name is already in use.
Mhm.
The Hyundai Ionic.
Yeah.
Now
Right.
they're going to have Ionic 5, 6, and 7.
Mhm.
So they might, and I'm thinking they might phase out the Hyundai Ionic, and then that
move it
would
over.
end, and then all the Ionics at that point would just be Ionics.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just like they did with the Genesis. It makes sense. And it's a brand or a name they've already got cleared. It's gone through all the trademark issues. So that's one easy way to do that.
Yeah, the auto industry is experienced with doing this already. Polestar did it. Every new car does this. Like the Nissan Pathfinder was actually the Armada was actually the Nissan Pathfinder Armada. The Honda Crosstour was the Honda Accord Crosstour, and then they just dropped the familiar name, and they've got it.
Cool.
The only ones that stink are, like you said, the transitional cars. Like, oh, I've got this. Oh, you mean it's electric? No, it's gas hybrid only, no plug.
Well, there you go. It is, Patrick, I think that's a really good point in that it's a nice move for them to create a standalone electric brand. That's a good sign. We want more of that.
Right. They're not going to be compliance, I hope. If they're putting that marketing oomph behind it, that should indicate a significant effort on their part.
Yeah. I mean,
And by marketing oomph, you mean calling it 5, 6, and 7?
Yes, I do.
Okay. All right. I just hope they come out with
Schmazel.
9. I just hope they come out with 9 total models so that the one would be 7 of 9.